I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. And yet, I ask you, is not an alien force already among us?
And welcome back to the show. Ladies and gentlemen, got a special guest here today. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. My guest is the host of the Improbable Dreamer on YouTube. You might actually know him as the Improbable Dreamer on Instagram as well. That's where I knew him from before this. So let's give him a more welcome. I'd like to welcome Jake to the show. Jake, thanks for coming on.
Hey, Tim, thanks so much for having me. Yes, it's great to be here. And yes, Probable Dreamer, my YouTube channel. We also go live on my YouTube with my podcast 10:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday as well. On my YouTube, you can find it, and several other places as well. But yes, sir, it's great to be here. Great to be on the show.
Yeah, it's been fun talking with you already. We look at a lot of the same areas of research.
Mhm.
Before I get too far down that track, were there any other plugs? Anything else about your show you might want to mention? Any other places you're at so people can come find you?
No, I mean the main spots I'm at. I'm in pretty much anywhere you listen to your podcast. You can find me. All the big places: Spotify, Apple Music. It's the name of the podcast is Questioning Everything. You'll find my pages either like under Improbable Dreamer, like on Instagram. Question Everything, I think, is my Facebook handle. The Doctor Regenerated, the Improbable Dreamer on TikTok. But yeah, I mean, I like I said, we have our podcast. We go live. It's kind of a audience engagement type of segments. Any type of questions you have about the old world, anything on the top of your head, every Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, catch our lives and ask your questions.
Awesome. And the live show's fun. I've caught a few of your live shows. It was, yeah, it was somewhat reminiscent to me at least of Art Bell and Coast to Coast. I kind of got that vibe, and
Yes.
that's a huge compliment, by the way. He's a he's a big factor as to why I do
Yes.
this.
He's a trailblazer
Yeah.
in the field we're in for sure. Yeah, and that's awesome. That's kind of exactly what I was going for. That old I grew up listening to talk radio, whether going to work with my old man when I was a kid or whatever. But
Mm.
there would always be people talking on the radio. Rarely would it be music on the radio. Maybe with my mom, and I just love that format. I love that that kind of give and take the audience brings to it. Really brings like a kind of a fresh perspective even to us as the host. You know, sharing their stories, sharing their local finds, and I've just had so much fun doing it. It's still relatively new. We're still like under 100 episodes. It's about 38 episodes we're at, but it's more and more fun every time I do it.
Yeah. I'm glad we got connected, man. I'm really excited about sitting down
Absolutely.
and talking with you. You were, I kind of just have to mention this because this was so cool that you brought up the Grand Canyon. And I've been trying, it's funny that you brought it up because I sent an email out yesterday to some
Mhm.
people who researched the Grand Canyon because I've just been trying and trying and trying to get somebody to come on and talk about that. And so I have to mention it because it seems like you've looked into the subject and you're aware of, we'll just say, the cover up there. And it was, how many spots were down there that have Egyptian names? Did you come across that information?
I did. Numbers I don't know off the top of my head, but give you a let me see if I can pull up a brief kind of synopsis from that episode. Give me just a moment. I'm kind of just looking
Yeah.
through my stack stuff. So, well, off the top of my head, while I look for it, basically a group of famous American explorers, John Wesley Powell, part of the Smithsonian, also Kincaid, all discovered supposedly, I say allegedly, ancient Egyptian artifacts and structures deep in the Grand Canyon. Kincaid made out a big news article to the Arizona Dispatch, essentially describing all of these Egyptian mummies, these hieroglyphics, these temple ruins, this like Buddha statue that's not quite a Buddha Hindu god,
Mhm.
but it's like very much identical looking to it. And so they set up a big excavation project. And ever since then, there's a complex headed with the Isis temple. There's a couple other all named Egyptian names, coincidentally, but they have ever since like it was like the early 1900s, they discovered this. That whole area has been strictly off limits. I'm talking if you were to walk up there, you can't fly over there, right? If you were to fly like a Cessna or something over the Grand Canyon, especially in that ISIS temple region, you would be intercepted by military planes and black helicopters. And especially if you start walking towards that ISIS temple, if you veer off those marked trails, you would be met with not just the usual National Park Service forest rangers, but actual blacked out Black Hawk helicopters.
Mhm.
You can find a couple videos of them. There's a great guy, a great boots on the ground type of explorer in the American Southwest, uh, desert drifter, I believe he was.
Oh,
He,
rest in peace. That was
yes,
awesome.
yes, he's made so many great stuff, especially around the Grand Canyon, and of course,
Isn't that
as so
odd that he isn't that kind of odd that he passed away while he was doing
yes.
all these videos?
Did you hear about the circumstances behind it?
No,
Very odd.
yeah, I heard it was odd, but I don't know the details. I
So
followed him and everything. I was like, man, this guy's gonna blow up.
I
Maybe it's because
sadly found him, post, his post demise, like several months afterwards. I don't know where I was in my that I missed something like him, but I found him, yeah, like I said, several months after he passed away, and yeah, it's very sad. But I looked into his whole situation behind his accidental, untimely death. Essentially, the rumor is he just made a great discovery in the Grand Canyon region, and he's made it a little bit known, and he was about ready to, you know, make this whole, you know, discovery video type thing, showing off what he found. And he was on his way home late at night, and out of nowhere, a drunk driver slammed into him at over 50 miles per hour while he sat at a red light. The drunk driver was in a, one of those white suburban type vans, but just very odd every time, explorers or people discover the latest and greatest new technology like the water powered car or
Mhm.
ancient discoveries that negate the mainstream narrative completely. They always seem to find an untimely death. That's the sad part about poking around with the boots on the ground, but he did
Yeah.
great work there.
He did great work. And, sometimes I'll just add this in. Sometimes it's death by car. There was
Yep.
a lady in Huntsville who was getting a little too close to some research. She was hit by a car. There's also the stories and there's clips out there too of people who their cars start going 90 miles an hour and they can't their brakes stop working and all that.
Oh,
It
yeah.
is just weird. But so here's the thing. You're saying he was desert drifter
Yep.
was looking into the Grand Canyon.
Mhm.
And that's when this happened. That's and there's other creators who've gone out there and done exactly what you said.
Yep.
And the military or whoever they are show up. There's Scott Walter on America Unearthed was out there and they caught some sort of a unmarked plane that was flying around them down there. And then
Mhm.
there's other creators who have gone in and filmed it and were escorted out. And then
Yeah.
there's the tales of the black helicopter. So I think there's where there's smoke, there's fire, and there's certainly fire in the Grand Canyon.
There's certain places in this realm, a lot of them in our country that, Area 51, that's what one everybody knows about, but that's kind of like one of the ones they want you to know about,
Mm.
the ones they want the general public to be distracted about, so they won't really poke any further. Oh, that's the secret base the government has. No, they have more money invested underground than they do above ground in this country. Uh, we we were talking about that actually. Nephilim Hunter, he called into my show yesterday and he was talking about, I can't remember the gal. He said there was some like higher US treasury official that said like more money by far go like trillions of US tax dollars go into these underground structures. They go by names like deep underground military bases, DUMBs, stuff like that. The like undergrounds all the elites are building as well. They have a lot underground, and they don't want us to know about it, and they will do anything up to just you'll never make it home. If you
Yeah.
poke around too deep, like our government is not at all beneath making you disappear or get rear-ended out of nowhere in the middle of the night by a drunk driver in a van at 65 miles per hour at a stoplight, like Desert Drifter.
Right. And clearly, I think clearly from research, that they the government is aware of these sites. They're certainly aware
Oh,
of the site. They're certainly aware of the Grand Canyon and everything and anything that might
mhm.
be there. Many entrances, many ancient sites of sacred worship and all those sorts of activities. But I think, like I've told you before, when it comes to these dams and some of the research I've done and the man-made lakes, the government's sending people in to flood those areas, and it's right on top of these ancient sites. So there's all sorts of correlation with this, and I think that the dumps tie into this too, like you're saying. I think that some of these locations were probably already there. They weren't
Mhm.
necessarily. They may have been caverns, like caves and caverns that were there naturally, but they may have been ancient cities underground too that we've gone in and taken and put bases on.
Yes. Yeah, so if it's not just by water that they got rid of so much of this old world history, really what they did where they couldn't have water do the job was these great fires.
Oh yeah.
These were absolutely history erasing events. They weren't caused by a cow tipping over a lantern or these silly narratives they try to give us for it. These were either explaining these post reset cities that they arrived on. When you look at a city, like you look at a city charter, it doesn't say this city started on this date. They use their words and they choose their words carefully. And most of the words they choose have double meanings behind them. When a building or when a city is created, it's not said created by this date, it's founded. Like,
Mm,
just think about found, you found, and then who are the ones that found these cities? What do they call them? The founders, right? So you have these founders finding these ruins of previous civilizations from the last reset, whether they survived the reset underground or whatever. Some people say it could be clones, could be a little bit of both, even. The ones that founded these cities were the parasitic elite that run this
mm,
world today, the globalist elite that run this world today. These same and what I think the resets are, whether or not it's man made or if it's a repeat cycle, the resets themselves, the elites take advantage of them. They take they take full advantage of them. They might not start them, but they sure as hell know when they are set to the next one going off. So they position themselves with the best place to survive. They hoard all the true knowledge, the true treasures of the world that they can muster up and gather up. They ride in these underground bunkers, these underground military bases. Think of all these elites worldwide building these elaborate um, doomsday bunkers like Zuckerberg, Oprah, stuff on those deep, deep underground bases. They're all spending millions of dollars to build. They're not just doing it because it's a latest rich person fad. They have true knowledge of this world's history, true knowledge of this world's properties and principles. We're just blissfully oblivious, easily controlled that way. Those who know nothing of their past, nothing of their true origins, their true histories, and their true capabilities, and what greatness they came from and what greatness they can achieve, are all that much easier to control and manipulate. And that's the game of this world,
Yeah.
every little bit of it.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, when you said they store up the knowledge and have been, I think that's very true, and that's what I'm finding with my research too, is that it pertaining to the world's fairs. I think
Hmm.
that they were using the world fairs as a way to get people to bring these artifacts that they were finding here in North America, bring them in, put them on display, and then siphon them off to private collections to
Oh,
where
absolutely.
you'll never see them again. All these missing art, there's missing tablets and artifacts all over the place. I come across this all the time with old world America stuff. One that comes to mind, for instance, would be the tablet from Grave Creek Mountain in West Virginia. It had Phoenician Iberian on it, missing. And all the other tablets, the Michigan tablets and other things are just missing. But yeah, to your point though, I
Hmm.
think this is something I've been working on. So I'm just kind of dropping it now, putting it on the table now. But yeah, I'm looking into the World's Fair as being this operation that they use to help get rid of ancient sites and ancient relics. And
Oh, yes.
I have articles that show that this is what they were doing as well.
Oh, yes, the World's Fairs, they were definitely an operation of many different things, and those fairs are such huge rabbit holes to go down. They all have the same narrative officially. 2 years to build these massive, beautiful palace-like, you know, temples and cathedrals, massive, like one of those buildings in Chicago, one of the like several 100,000 square foot exposition halls. Just one of those beautiful buildings was about half the size of Disneyland is today. And they built like 4 of those massive convention centers in addition to the several hundred beautiful, ornate, they called it the White City because it was all just pearly white, looking like stone, but they say officially it was just plaster Paris, just cheap chicken wires and flimsy materials made to last temporarily. And but even if you can build it with any material, you can build it with Legos. You're not building that in 2 years' time. Look at one of the World's Fairs. Some of the things you can look at to break those narratives completely. They say Chicago was one of those 2 year times frame cities. During the years that they would have built those World's Fairs, there were two massive winter storms in the Chicago region. And I'm, Chicago and lived in the Chicago area most of my life.
Okay.
Those winter storms in Illinois, in the Great Lakes regions are brutal. Those 2 particular years, they had recorded temperatures of weeks of near 30 below 0. Nothing is being worked on in that temperature. No paint can be painted, it would freeze to the brush, the materials wouldn't, mature and, harden correctly. You couldn't do that, so and that was 2 years of very, very harsh Chicago winters, even harsher than they usually are. So, it's not 2 years' time that they had, they roughly had about 18 months, give or take, and then you add in the Midwest freeze and thaw cycle, the muddy, muddy freeze and thaw cycle, and they weren't operating logistic wise, they weren't operating semi trucks, flatbeds. They weren't operating any of that stuff. They had horse and buggy supply chain then. You could not move that much material required to build that much structures. Again, it could be made of plaster of Paris, it could be made of Legos, it could be made of cardboard boxes. How they made it look beautifully, how massive it was, 2 years' time, it's impossible. And keep in mind, that's not even talking about all the fully grown landscaping, the fully grown trees, the massive lagoon system, the massive waterway system. They built a whole waterway system that was operated and transported by gondola through the entirety of the Chicago World's Fair. So think of that, and that's the like it was like 1870s, I believe it was, off the top of my head, like 1873 or something, and they didn't have any modern power equipment, any heavy machinery, anything like that. They say they had like up like 10,000 people at a time working these world's fairs, but even with 10,000 people, there's not 10,000 enough skilled laborers. It's just there's no time frame. The math does not math with these world's fairs. Any one
Yeah.
of them, and you'll find the same thing. Um,
They were doing that with the Centennial Exposition in Nashville as well
oh
in the
yes,
late
you got the
18th. They
full size Parthenon there, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's here and that's interesting. And like you said, they were building these big water lagoon like situations out front. I don't know how they
And
were.
full size Greek Parthenons,
Yeah,
and a massive pyramid right next to it,
and a
just
pyramid.
yeah, just just for grins and giggles. And they
Yeah.
say, oh, it's temporary material. You can find photos of people. There's like a viewing ledge on this like second or third floor of this massive pyramid, and there's like a picture of like groups of people, probably hundreds of people, all standing on that balcony
Hmm.
on top of that pyramid. Like that's not temporary, just slapped together type material. And then supposedly they say they tore down that Parthenon and rebuilt a replica of it. And that's the
Yeah.
silly part about that. They say all these buildings are temporary, but a lot of them, like they pick and choose. It seems like every of these fairs, and these fairs were going on every year. Just because they took 2 years to build them, they were always having one running pretty much. Sometimes they even had multiple running across the world. The Omaha World's Fair in Omaha, Nebraska, in like I think 1902 or 1903, and at the same time you had the massive World's Fair in Stockholm, Sweden, and these were being attended by millions and millions of people. Now that's where it really gets kind of fuzzy when you look. See, my background professionally is uh, I'm like an auditor, not a tax auditor, but like freight and shipping auditor.
Okay.
Legit, and what my company did was we would shipping logistics, like supply chains, like getting your material shipped to get supplies to the stores, to wherever they need to go. We would audit those supply chains, audit the manufacturing process they had, dig over all the fine tooth comb, making sure they had the infrastructure and system in place to have a supply chain to ship whatever they wanted to ship and then ship it the cheapest. But with that, it's always given me kind of a unique eye, I think, to some of this stuff,
Hmm.
where I look at things differently when I look at these World's Fairs. Like most people are looking just for, at the beautiful, amazing architecture that's represented, and it's very eye catching, absolutely. But I'm looking at the back end, the nitty gritty. Okay, if it's temporary, how is a city of Omaha housing visitors, over 2 million visitors, with
Hmm.
a city that's, I think it was maybe a little over 100,000 people at the time? Omaha, Nebraska, if you've ever been there, I mean, you're not missing much if you haven't, trust me. It's a very much just drive through city. It's one of the bigger cities in Omaha, and I mean, all around it, there's nothing. And this is in the 1900s, keep in mind. So they didn't have airports at all, supposedly no flight, though I think airships were around a lot longer than they say, and they were a
Hmm.
massive part of the transportation infrastructure then. But they had to they had to get 2 million plus visitors to the fair somehow. I believe, let me just double check that math here. I believe it might have even been more.
Yeah.
Um,
I pulled up a picture real quick for people. You mentioned some of the world's fairs over in Europe, and I don't hear those talked about a lot on shows. So I wanted to take the opportunity to show a picture of one of the world's fairs in Europe's. And this is, I mean, look at this building. This is wild. And it's the same story that they
mhm.
tell us. They say they built this for the fair and then tore it down. And this is 1935 in Brussels.
Oh, Brussels World's Fair, yeah.
And look at
And
that building and the spot, those columns there. Isn't
massive. Look
that
at
and
the
that's
ether.
incredible.
You see the ether antennas on top of that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the thing about Nashville too, Jake. There's I'll try to find a picture in a minute, but like you said, they have the Parthenon there. They had that pyramid. Matter of fact, I'll show the pyramid. They also had a large tower in the background, super large, looks like a radio tower. I'm not sure what it was. I'm assuming it's one of these ether towers, though, like you're saying.
Yes. Yeah. I vaguely remember that now. It almost looks like kind of maybe a little look at all those antennas. See,
Hmm.
you they if you look at some of these flags, and I should say a majority of these flags, one of the things you want to look for when you're looking for alterations, manipulations of photos, look at the flagpoles. They do a terrible job at cutting out the skies, the visuals behind them. As you see with this picture, too, mostly all these photos are bleached white skies. They say it's for overexposure. The skies didn't show up, but I can show dozens of photos before or after this photo that shows the sky being clearly visible.
Okay.
You can zoom in on objects in the background like flagpoles, and not only will you see most of these flags are painted on afterwards, like they clearly are not like this one. I can't say for sure, but
Yeah.
if you like, and you can't really quite see too many of them up close, but look at like the American flag, as everyone knows, the most. Like, look at those flags and some of the old world photos, and you can tell they were drawn on after the fact. Uh, and in addition to that, if they're paired like those poles or any type of like hard architect, like basically it seemed like the technology they used in a lot of this manipulation was just kind of like trace and cut. And when you have non-straight lines and like uniform pieces, it's hard to get really close to cutting out all of that. So there's going to be a discolorization of like, you know what I mean, where the building
Yeah.
meets the artificial sky. There's going to be a clear discrepancy, a clear different colorization of that. And right there, you can see so many photos of like just any old world photo. If you start zooming in long enough, you're gonna find so many alterations. Well,
Yeah,
I
it's
should say at
interesting.
least more so than not. Speaking to your point earlier though about the
This is
dams.
the balcony for people
Mhm.
that Jake referenced a minute ago.
Yes, right there.
It's not in this picture, but I've seen other pictures where there's a lot of people standing on this balcony. And if it was a temporary structure, they probably wouldn't let people up there, especially people in that great number. So
Yes,
I just wanted to point
exactly.
that out. But yeah, what were you saying about the dams?
Oh yeah, I know we picked a couple different topics to maybe kind of highlight tonight.
Yeah.
No worries. When you get me going on old world, it's one of my. I can talk about anything under the sun, and this isn't even without touching my notes that I kind of prepared for the show.
Yeah.
But I really wanted to highlight the duality of, you have all of those dams that took away so much of the landscape, covered it up. With that, you also had those great fires. So you heard of the Great Fire of Chicago, most everyone has,
Hmm.
right? Did you know that was not the only fire that night in the area?
I knew that, and you'll have to remind me of the details, but if I remember correctly, there were three others in Illinois, or two others in Illinois that night. Is that right, or is it
Oh,
something?
there was so many.
Okay.
There were so many fires here. Let me just so while let me talk about a couple of the ones where I live at in Wisconsin now, about an hour away, is a little tiny town called Peshtigo. I hope I said that right. My wife always nags at me on that one. She's a Wisconsinite. I'm from Illinois, so we really
Okay.
get along during football season. But anyways, Peshtigo, it's about an hour north of where I am in the Green Bay area, and it is about 4 hours, give or take, as the crow flies from Chicago. So they say simultaneously at the exact same day, the exact same night, Peshtigo and Chicago ignited at the same exact time, uh, simultaneously. And here's where it gets really crazy here. Let me just pull up that number.
Yeah. And if I remember correctly, while you're pulling that up, there was a situation in Washington State as well where it was the same night as one of the Great Seattle fires. There were
Mhm.
two other. Uh, I think Eugene was one, and another
Yep.
place in Washington was one. Same night, all three of these cities burned down, and that's we're getting into beyond the realm of coincidence here when something, especially when you're talking about simultaneously, like they're both catching fire at the
You,
same time.
you
We're
want to get in
beyond,
coincidence? Seven.
yeah,
Seven was what it
seven.
is. At the same time, folks. So I have this saved just because it's so like, yeah, beyond the realm of coincidence, right? So on the night of October 8th, starting through October 9th, there were at least 5 to 7 major fires that broke out almost simultaneously across Lake Michigan. And again, I mentioned two of them, uh, Peshtigo and Chicago. Those are at least, like I said, 4 or 5 hours as the crow flies from each other. You have, a big portion of the lake across it. So that's an odd distance. And in the meantime, cities like Green Bay, Appleton, Milwaukee, all in the path of Chicago from Peshtigo, they were left untouched. So we have Peshtigo that started, Great Chicago Fire started between 8:30 and 9 p.m. On the date of October 8th.
Hmm.
Simultaneously, at 9 p.m., Peshtigo, Wisconsin started on fire. And then in the evening of the 8th as well, approximately 9 to 9:30, Holland, Michigan started on fire. Uh, Manistee Fire in Michigan also started on fire. Port Huron, Michigan also started on fire, all in the late hours of October 8th. So even Peshtigo and Chicago starting on fire at the same exact time simultaneously would be an odd coincidence, an impossible coincidence, as it were.
Mhm.
I, much like you did with the dams, it's kind of, great. We're a great little team here. I did a big, like, charting of all these great fires. It was a coordinated effort. You've heard of, them being tons of great fires, right? It's it was coordinated. It was done in quadrants. So the
Okay.
first portion of the Great Fire Burns in America's history, really, in this like weird cluster pattern, was obviously the Lake Michigan Midwest region. That happened first. Then the next batch of great fires to break out was the Pacific Northwest. The Seattle Great Fire, Great Fire of Sacramento. You had Portland's Great Fire. You had all these cities that were on these new rail lines, and they all just started erupting like in the same summer. They didn't quite have that same kick as the Midwest fires, where 7 of them were going off simultaneously and erupting at the same time frame overnight, but they were all within, like, this one summer, this 3-month period of time. At least a dozen cities in the sorry, that was my dog. A dozen cities in the, Southwest region, all in a clustered area, ignited in flames. And then after that, you had the East Coast and the South, um, that also had a clear burn cluster, a pattern, like while there was fires going on in the East Coast, there was not fires going on in the Midwest anymore or the Pacific Northwest or anything like that. They were all coordinated, one area, then the next, then the
Hmm.
next. Then it all ended pretty much in the Great Fire slash earthquake of San Francisco, where an earthquake and a massive fire just completely burned that city down to the ground. And that was pretty much the end of the erasing period. Now, fires are great. They don't cover the buildings. I mean, they burn them down to rubble, but it's the greatest way to erase the history of the land you're on. All these buildings that burned down were city buildings, governments, city hall, record houses. So all of the birth records, all of the, tax records, all of the actual like historical records from these cities like Chicago, like Boston, like St. Louis, they were all lost in these great fires. That's one of the easy go-to excuses they have. If you ever try and find, look in your hometown. I always tell people there's evidence of our buried past, of our mud flood in nearly every city and every town in every country and continent across this world. And you can do it yourself in your local town. Go to your old city street, like your main street, where you'll find those beautiful, like red brick, a lot of them ornate brick structures that have those buried and sunken layers. Now they'll say they were founded, again, that founded word, in the late 1890s, early 1900s. Those are the key numbers. Ask your ask the city hall, ask your city records, your permit holding, ask your city historical society for the original blueprints, the original building permits, documentation of original construction or anything like that, the original foundation plans or anything. You will find not just one or two not being there, cities all across the world. Everybody's tried this. I don't know if you've heard of a person like YouTuber My Lunch Break. He's done extensive work. He's even gone as far as submitting freedom of information requests to the National Archives, the National Halls of Records, for not only some of these, you know, historical buildings in America, but also these World's Fairs buildings, trying to find some original blueprints, original like architect notes or something of these buildings. He has gotten back nothing. They can't find it. They just give you the runaround. They'll either ignore the request or say no records have been found. So that is in America. That's a country. You know, grand scheme of things. In the whole scale of events is a little blip on the radar of time. A very small time America has been around. Very young country. Same with a country like Australia, and these young countries should not have that much gaps in their records. We're supposed to believe the narrative, but they can't even explain why there are massive brick archways buried underground underneath their city streets. You can Google search local news, just like not Google search, YouTube it. I have like dozens of videos that I've kind of saved over the years from local news from cities across the country, just like local news discovered underground, and you will find just random reports all the way from back in the early 2000s of people doing some utility line runs, infrastructure repair or something, and they dig a little bit underground, and oh my gosh, there's these massive red
Layers.
brick layers that it's
It's a
not on
layer.
any record.
Yeah,
And
off
they're
there, they built the cities on top of ancient cities. And I forgot to tell you this. I know we've just kind of met and got acquainted, but
Mhm.
one of the other things I work on, and I'm working on right now, is showing that our ancient cities, our American cities rather, are on top of ancient cities. And
Oh
it's
yes.
all. I wanted to tell you this because all those cities that were fires that had great
Mhm.
fires, they're all on the list. You know, like St. Louis is one, Chicago, Seattle, Louisville, Pittsburgh, Columbus, Nashville. These cities were built on older cities, and I've gotten
Mhm.
to the point where I can prove it now. But I think it speaks to what you're saying. One of the ones I looked into where I was finding a lot of this underground activity was St. Louis, and I think it correlates with the sinkholes. St. Louis has a major sinkhole problem, and it's
Yes.
because they built the city on top of these old
Mhm.
ruins, and they
Yeah.
just give way from time to time.
No, that is exactly what is, and it's going on worldwide too. That
Yeah.
shows, just how it is not just an isolated event, an isolated, extreme event that buried some cities around the world. No, that's why I said it's every country, every city, every town. You'll find evidence of it. If you find a building that says anything around early 1900s below, chances are it's a buried, mud flooded building. And again, that kind of ties to, I don't know if I talked about it while we were recording or before we jumped on air, but it only takes like 3 generations to completely erase knowledge of our true past. And they've done it so successfully to Native Americans and stuff, just completely taking them away from their villages and their tribes. Um, and erasing their complete knowledge. And in a few generations, they were completely assimilated to us because they had no knowledge of their true history and their true past. Think of these massive events like the orphan trains, hundreds of thousands by official records of probably much more of unaccompanied children, ages as old as or as young as 1 years old, were sent on these trains all across the country with no documentation, no birth records, no documents of their parents, no any bits and pieces of their families that they can track back to, where they came from, who they are, who's ma, who's pa, and they sent them to these frontier towns, oftentimes with populations listed as 0 right up to their arrival. So they were being sent to towns with nobody, essentially, all across the country, ripped from their true families, from their true origins and their true histories. They were set up. You talk about these World's Fairs being, operations. Oh boy, I could talk for hours about just the operations that go on behind the World's
That's
Fairs.
I'm so excited that I
Have you ever heard of
connected
the
with
Zoo of
you, man.
People of the World's
What's that?
Fairs? Have you ever heard of the Zoo of People in World's Fairs?
Yeah, and that's the one of the things I wanted to mention just a second ago with the Cabbage Patch Kids thing,
Mhm.
the incubator babies.
Oh,
That's one
yes.
of the that I think that probably ties in with the Zoo of People possibly as well. But I just want to tell you when I really took the time to look into the incubator baby situation, I got chills. It was chilling. It was really weird because it's like I think some of these kids apparently they were very young, they were newborns, and apparently some of them were like in critical care, like they weren't the healthiest. So it's like, how are they moving these kids around and bringing them in to the fair without them dying? There's just so many questions. But it,
Exactly.
yeah,
Well,
Zoo
yeah,
of People. I
apparently
didn't want to get you off track.
there was just thousands of, you know, parents that were just willing to give up their premature babies to them. But yeah, the Zoo of People, I mean, many zoos, are many World's Fairs, several in America had these very controversial exhibits, talking about old world trafficking, at the Zoo of People, the baby incubators, the orphan trains, the orphan asylums, the insane asylums. This was all the same MO that all these parasitic elites do now. This it's a form of trafficking. It's a setup. These kids, like I
Mm.
said, those unaccompanied minors being sent all over these people that were at these Zoo of People exhibits. It was literally a zoo, like you would go to the Brooklyn Zoo or the Chicago Zoo. Instead of animals, there would be hundreds, if not thousands, in some of the bigger ones of indigenous peoples from all over the world that were sent to these World's Fairs, and they were not asked nicely to volunteer and please step on the boat. They were coerced, they were lied to, they were outright forced at times. Uh, Promises to be paid very little, of course, but promise to be paid, taken well care of, and they were anything but. Many of them received very little to no pay, like pennies on the day, if that, and even worse so after these World's Fairs, like in the massive ones, especially like St. Louis, the promises to, return them home fell through. They were stuck in a city. They had no idea what, a completely different culture, like, primitive culture, primitive people, in a big American city, no way home, no communications with anyone, no, the language barrier back then, I could only imagine. And of course, no money. And we just did that year after year. It wasn't just in America's World's Fairs. The Paris World's Fair had one. I believe the Brussels World's Fair had one. Uh, it's just a crazy world that they lived in. And the incubator exhibits, even if you look at it in an altruistic approach, Doctor, it was the story behind it is this guy who was not a doctor, but was referred to as Dr. Martin Coney, created the idea for incubating premature babies. And he just, he's such a good-hearted guy. He wanted to get his invention out there to save people at these hospitals. But all the hospitals, well, that's crazy. These won't do anything. So he's like, well, screw you. I'm going to prove you guys wrong. So he built these massive, elaborate uh, baby incubator exhibits where people would pay actual money to just, and massive amounts of people would pay good money to gawk at these premature babies like they've never seen a baby before. You'll see some of the exhibits like being advertised like baby incubators with living babies.
Hmm.
Uh, it's just like why would that need to be a a descriptor for that? Like you would
Yeah.
assume if you're going to see infant incubators, they should have live babies. Like, are there other infant incubator exhibits going on across the country that don't have live babies? Like it's very weird.
Yeah. Well,
The
they had
amount
those. They did have those babies or feet. I don't know what they were, but like fetuses in some cases. But the I'm trying to remember what they call them, but they were in jars. The what did they call those?
they were like the preemies, or you're talking about the
Uh,
ones that were in the incubators, or
no, there was. I've seen people with pictures with these jars, and they have humans and like little babies in the jars. And there's a name for punks, pickled punks. Do you know what I'm talking
oh
about?
yeah, yeah. Heck, these things. So apparently Coney got his babies all from like supposedly legitimate sources, but how many of these I mean, there seemed to be an epidemic at the time, or a large amount of people that were just willing to give up their premature baby. And again, if it was just somebody that was altruistically, let's look at this logically, let's break it down. Like if it was just somebody trying to be an altruistic inventor trying to save all these babies, these infant incubator exhibits ran for well over a decade, and they were pretty massive. They were pretty successful. Clearly, the babies, a large amount of them survived. So, why did he need to keep putting
Hmm.
on the literal Coney Island type carnival barker show for these babies year after year? Probably because there was a lot more than just premature babies going on there. Could it have been, say, maybe another layer of that old world trafficking? History
Yeah.
repeats itself, and if it doesn't repeat, it sure as heck rhymes. Hey, I got a picture I wanted to show you. I
Yeah.
can share screen, right?
Yes, absolutely. You should have a little
Yeah.
green icon down at the bottom in the middle
Okay,
that
give me
should allow you to
just a
share.
moment here.
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, you got me thinking when you said, why would the descriptor of the exhibit be live babies as opposed to what, right? And I'd never really thought about it
Exactly.
that way. And then that made me think about the pickled punks, which is a very
Mhm.
strange name, but that's what they called them. And even modern day celebrities go and take pictures with the pickled punks. I have a couple of those images saved somewhere, but it's Leonardo DiCaprio is went and saw somebody's got like a collection of these things, and they allow the celebrities to come and take pictures with them, which is a very weird thing. I don't know why you would do that, but
No,
there's
it's
a
no,
picture
that's they
of
love their
Leonardo
babies.
DiCaprio, and then the girl who was in she dated Anthony Bourdain for a while. She was an actress or is an actress, and I forgot her name. But the whole thing's really weird, but it harkens back to this time that's even weirder that we're talking about, like what
Mhm.
really was going on here. Ah, there's the Nashville
Yep.
pyramid with all the
Yeah.
people.
I was trying to find another one. I think it's either this pyramid or no, it's the Alaskan, the Pacific exhibit, World's Fair in the Northwest. There's a pyramid similar to this, a lot smaller, but they have next to it a little baby incubator cafe sign. I don't know if it's just
Okay.
a bad kind of clip how it looks like it's like, hey, do you want to go to get a pizza at this fair, or how about a baby incubator at the baby incubator cafe? It was just
Mm.
very weird. But yeah, there is one picture. I have one more. I don't know how good the quality is,
I'm gonna
but
say
this
real
is the
quick.
pyramid, and yeah, go ahead.
This is super detailed. This is one of the more detailed pictures of this that I've seen. And
Hmm.
what's catching my eye is the number of people. Like you said, there's like so many people on this balcony. And then
Exactly.
the balcony has these very very large carvings, and they look like crescent moons, like upside down crescent moons.
Very
And
just ornate detail.
very
Like,
ornate, very detailed. I
mhm.
just wanted to remark on it.
Every inch of these buildings at all of these World's Fairs are pretty much the same. Just the amount of just detail and craftsmanship that went into every like literal brick, every nook and cranny of these World's Fairs. Why would you do that? If I mean, look at if you have a massive like a states fair today or something like that. Uh they're made with big giant tents, or, little rolling up carts like the old, cotton candy carts that, just get pulled up on a trailer hitch. Like, you never see anyone building something like that because, I mean, it's just logistic-wise, it's impossible. Logically, it's impossible. Economically, it's impossible. It would mostly all of these World's Fairs lost a substantial amount of money. The only one that I think turned a profit, or I think one or two of them, Chicago World's Fair, and I think the 1776 American Centennial World's Fair in Philadelphia were like the only two of these World's Fairs, and they were losing millions and millions of dollars of 1800s money, which is substantial compared to today's money. Uh, it's talking about
Oh,
billions
for
per these
sure.
cities, per these states, and the government, our government that shelled out for them. They did it for, essentially to bring tourism to America, to bring interest in America. But I mean, how many times you have to shell $1 billion in today's money out to say, hey, look, we're America, we're cool, we can build pyramids with people standing in them and stuff like that. Here is
Yeah.
one more. Let me
I'll
see.
add real quick to what you're
This
saying.
is probably the photo you saw. Is this the one that it pulled up first, or was this the second, or is this the first one that it had already?
Okay, I'm seeing the pyramid again
It's
with the
the okay.
balcony.
Hang on, one more. I got the same balcony. It's just a little bit closer up on it. Check out that
Okay.
one.
All right,
Look at how
cool.
many people you can see in that one. It's a little bit blurry. It's like a zoomed in shot, but
Yeah.
see
Let me
how?
I want to add
Mhm.
something real quick
Yeah, go ahead.
because you brought up a great point about them losing. This is what blew my mind. When I heard this, I was like, I gotta look more into this. Time and time again, like you're saying, they lost money on these fairs. These rich elites backed the fair and they lost a lot of money. These guys don't play like that. They don't just
Hmm.
throw money at things. So why would they continue to do the fairs? And I looked it up. I think it was Chicago, for example, cost over 20 million and it
Yep.
lost 5 to 10 million. So why would they continue to
Hmm.
do this? And I suspect it's because the backers were getting these priceless artifacts for
Yep.
their private collections because we're showing these pictures of these grand ornate buildings and that's awesome, but what was inside the buildings, there was a lot of displays for ancient artifacts that they were
Hmm.
finding here in our country. They're digging them up out of our ground here, and I think those were being siphoned off to these private collections. And
Oh yes.
I think it was a benefit on the back end, and it was beneficial as well to the government because this gets into John Wesley Powell, somebody you mentioned early on in the show.
Hmm.
In 1880, there was a private club operating out of DC called the Cosmos Club, and they were a part of, without going into it, they were part of this sort of cleanup of history, I would say. And
Yep.
this fair, the more and more I look into it, man, the more I see that this was they weren't actually losing money on the back end.
No, and of course, what they show you publicly and stuff, you take with a grain of salt. I tell people, even
Yeah,
the dates that they give you on those photos, how do we know that that was the date that that Chicago World's Fair happened? That's
yeah.
just the numbers they give us. I only use dates as like good little while I'm doing, my presentations, or while
But
I'm
hey, I agree with you though. I agree they did lose money, But what I'm
Hmm.
saying is, I suspect that they made it back. You're
Oh
right.
yes.
They
Oh
definitely
yes.
lost the money.
Hmm. Well, I mean, there was rampant human trafficking reported. Just what little bit they did actually report on in those Zoo of People events at those World's Fairs.
Mm,
Guarantee you, doubly so for those events like the baby incubators, etc. There was so much oddities going on in that period, like pre and post reset, like last mud flood, we kind of call it, happened in like, I say the last reset, the mud flood, 1776, mid 1800s, somewhere around that time frame. And you just see so much oddities before and especially afterwards with those orphan trains, those orphan asylums popping up, all involving kids. And you're right, there's these groups that are profiting on the back end of it. I mean, they just like they do now, they all these parasitic elites, they're draining our cities, they're draining our resources, they're draining us personally as much of wealth and as much of labor they can get from us. They want, they'll drain it all dry just like a parasite does. That's why I call these elites, these world leaders, whatever you want to call them, they're nothing more than just parasites.
mm,
They will attach themselves to the host, in this case, us, our countries, our cities, our government organizations, and they will drain them, bankrupt them, and bleed them dry. And then they'll just detach and go on to the next host. Like these yeah, like there was so much uh obvious trafficking going on. These secret societies. A lot
mm.
of people talk about the Illuminati. That's one of the big ones. The
Oh,
Freemasons.
I gotta add then. You may already know this, but for people listening, so right beside this pyramid that you're showing, and thanks for showing
Hmm.
these pictures, these are
Yeah,
great.
absolutely.
There was there was a building right beside this called the Knights of Pythias, which was a secret society building.
Yep.
It was right
Yeah.
there.
They advertise in plain sight. And I mean the real secret society, they everything is a carefully elaborated or carefully narrated, carefully crafted subterfuge. They'll show half truths. They'll show disclosure, but it'll be in like our fantasy shows, our books that are called fiction, but they'll tell you the truth of this world. That's why, evil can't, evil has no creativity. They cannot create, they can only manipulate, twist, destroy, and deceive. That's why if you were to name me the type five fantasy mythical beasts that you would find in a fantasy book, they would all be the same. There would be no variations. There are no variations. You'll see dragons, giants, orcs, all of these same mythical beasts that are, they can't come up with their own like stories.
Mm,
They only take stories from the old world and just, you know, rewash it, give it a fresh coat of paint, change some things around. It's like the kid that cheats in the on the test in school. They'll slightly change their answers a little bit and make it look like they said it in their own words, but it's just, a terrible facsimile, a terrible copy of the originals.
yeah,
And like these
yeah.
World's Fairs, yeah, they, there's stuff, there were many layers going on in them. They were also just, I think they were refurbished, fixed up ruins from, founded old worlds from the past reset. And like you said, all of the artifacts, all of the treasures that they uncovered in these, ruins, they were divvied up to the highest bidder, to these secret societies, to these elitists connected to all those groups. Absolutely. Um, you know,
I think that's exactly what happened in
mhm.
Nashville too, with the pyramid and the Parthenon and all the stuff we've been talking about here. I think they built that fair on ruins. I think that's an example of what you're saying.
Yep.
It served as a way for them to get rid of those ancient sites once and for all, because you build a building on top of these older ruins, and then if you
Hmm.
tear the building down, it's almost like those whatever was there first is never there in the
Exactly.
it's a great way to
Exactly.
clean up. And
And
I've
if you
got
find it
articles.
first, history goes to the victory. History
Yeah,
goes to the founder.
no doubt.
Whoever conquers the land can tell whatever story they want to about its past, right?
Right.
Let me show
Right.
you. So this is so again where you can really kind of see there was a worldwide reset, a and these elites getting those tablets, getting those works of the old world that have great either power, symbolic significance, or literal powers. There's tons of technologies we could talk about. Vimanas, Vajras, literal electric knights, like electric powered swords from the ether, the free energy above us. So in the mid to late 1800s, weirdly enough, we decided up until then we would leave all of our greatest monumentous cities that we abandoned, like Rome. Rome was abandoned for quite a long time. And when we decided to come back to them all around the same period, we're like, all right, now is when we're going to start digging around. Everywhere around the world at the same time, essentially, they were starting to dig up Egypt, Rome, Greece. This is one of the photos. I think it was from Rome. No, I can't remember. Maybe ah, I got to do like a first image search, but I just kind of want to really point out these
Whoa.
gentlemen right here. Uh, Everywhere you see in these old archaeological sites, these excavation sites from the mid 1800s, they are all flanked and guarded by armed guards.
Mm.
Because it was a race. Think of it as like several powerful factions. It's not one or two. It's a little more consolidated today, like a few powerful factions, you know, fight over each other, maybe more symbolically than actual like. Oh boy, I hope my daughter's not coming too loud on the
Oh, that's
scene.
that's
Um,
okay. People
but
out there listening, they have kids,
oh yeah,
nieces, and nephews. We can get through this.
oh
It's
yeah,
okay.
oh yeah. But so these factions, after they came up from either these buried underground cities, or some other way they survived, they factions rushed. It was a great rush, like the great gold rush. I think the actual, like, what we taught about the gold rush in San Francisco was actually kind of said to rush to get to these buildings with all this grand antiquitech, these
Mm.
powerful structures. And with them, most archaeological sites aren't going to need so many armed guards. This is just kind of a little bit of my folder of the mud flood stuff. I can kind of show you one of thousands and thousands of my categories here.
That's
It's,
incredible.
it's
Can
just
could you
random
so
photo. Yeah, go
could you
back.
go back to the one with the car for a second? See,
Yep.
that's what I was seeing with St. Louis. Look,
Hmm.
underground St. Louis looks just like that.
Oh boy, yes. Oh boy, can I share a screen with a video clip?
I think so. That should be
Oh
good.
yeah, you don't know how much I got on those undergrounds, especially in St. Louis. Let me see. This
Oh
is
wow.
let me see here. Bear with
Just out of
me.
curiosity, that first picture that you showed,
Yeah.
the armed guards, what site was that with the pillar that was
You
coming
know,
out of the ground?
I'm regretting that my photographic memory isn't always
Oh,
so
that's okay.
photographic. This is the same location. So let's see here. Let's do a handy search tool. For those watching, great way to verify photos. Use the tools that they give us to subdue us and use it for good. So this was,
Yeah.
I just did a reverse Google search, click on it, AI search, and it should probably pop up the located place to just kind of match the photos. Oh boy, she's really crying. I might have to go. My wife is actually at her sister's for the night, so
Okay. You
uh
we can
gosh,
pause it.
yeah.
We,
Oh yeah.
uh,
We're not live. We're not live. What am I
no, we're not
saying?
live.
What am I
So,
saying? Yeah.
all right. Took a quick break and we're back. And you informed me.
Yes.
You remembered that those ruins were in Turkey.
Yep.
In
The ruins of the ancient city of Sardines in now present day Turkey. And
okay,
there she goes
interesting.
again as soon as we hit record, right?
I know. I know.
Um, yeah, so let me just here, I'm an ancient history buff, hidden history rabbit hole digger, and also full-time dad as well. I'm a man of many hats, and with that, the hats are always very busy. But yeah, I really kind of wanted to, the one I was really excited to present to you, especially with you telling me you never really heard too much about it, were those pneumatic transportation systems. I actually got a little bit of a slideshow here showing you them as we go. Let me just pull that up. So when you think of a pneumatic tube, you probably think of those little, bank tubes, right?
Mm.
That you put your deposits in at the drive-in or the drive-up banks, and they shoot those little like tubes right up in there. So they had a massive, massive infrastructure of just the basic pneumatic systems, big enough to send envelopes, small packages. They had that starting around 1870s is when they officially said the whole experimental phase of this went out, and I'm talking, several 100 miles of infrastructure of, these steel airtight tubes throughout cities. A lot of old buildings, like, those 1800s, 1900s buildings, have massive pneumatic mailing tube systems inside their buildings themselves, where they can, just put a letter up in that little air compressed air sealed tube, and it would shoot up to the mail room, down to any particular branches they could have. And they had that much larger. They had
Mm.
pneumatic postal services where they could ship, they said, letters and other things. However, they had clear images of kids being shipped in these pneumatic train cars.
Oh my
uh
gosh, are you
Again,
serious?
is it's always the children. It's always the children. This
Oh, that is
the
so
ball game.
wild.
If you know ball, you know what the ball game's all about. They love their children. They love their child sacrifice.
Oh.
Think of all the ancient civilizations. It's just, history repeats and rhymes. Child sacrifices on the temples of Moloch and whatnot is transformed into these child sacrifice, child trafficking in these pneumatic airtight tunnels.
Mm.
She's the boss here. Sounds like she's probably telling me to wrap it up quickly. So we're going to give you a quick rundown of these pneumatic tunnels. Let me just find my slideshow of them here, folks. Bear with me. I forgot we're not live, so you can always cut that too. So that's fine.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, here we go. There's some of my folders. So officially, they had a experimental pneumatic tube system that was constructed by a gentleman in secret who was contracted to build New York City subway tunnels. And allegedly, he decided to take it upon himself secretly, because people love to build secret 9 foot tall tunnels, laden in brick, underground with no power tools, no excavation machinery, heavy equipment. This is all horse and wagon powered time frame. So this guy secretly, of course, built these. It was like a 4,000 foot, or like a couple mile set of track, pneumatic tube track, with very heavy equipment, heavy air compressors that they somehow, I guess, snuck in under the guides of, you know, something else they were doing. But he built this secret pneumatic tube system. It was very, very lavish, very beautiful, like ornate. There was like grand pianos in these waiting rooms for these trains. Officially, in its short time frame, it took 400,000 passengers. And then the guy that just secretly built the pneumatic tube system decided to just completely seal it off and rebury it, until about 20 or 30 years later, when they were building a subway station in the underground Broadway, did they rediscover these perfectly well preserved pneumatic train system tunnels. So they say it was just an officially like one and done. Are you seeing this
Mm.
one photo up I have now?
I
Is
see it.
it
I see
showing?
it. And I was going, are they, was this the size? Is this the scale that we're talking here where it's like it's they're small but they can fit, it looks like a man is in
Yep,
that.
there is a man in there. There's another man on the one. There's, you see the man sitting up, and then behind him, there's one laying down.
laying down.
No, this is not the system. Remember, this was just an experimental transport system to transport people that was only done one place in New York City. This one is actually in London, by the way.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So they tell us officially in history, don't poke too much, don't look behind too many doors. But there was only one set of experimental pneumatic passenger train systems at the time, and it was done in secret. While a guy was doing one project for the city, he just secretly built these very elaborate pneumatic tube systems. But the evidence that this was, I mean, you see here, this was these same cars. These were used to transport large amounts of letters to and from post stations, sorting stations, etc. But yeah, very much you could fit at least a couple full-size people and probably a few more of the little people that always seem to just find themselves getting in very precarious situations throughout history. They all just get on these orphan trains with no records. They get thrown into these mail tubes. I mean, look at this diagram, clearly showing a gentleman being like, this kind of reminds me of Futurama, this one. You
Yeah.
know, those like personal, like little tubes that go around, kind of looks
Yeah.
like that, an old world version.
No
Again,
doubt.
Hollywood and the media, you know, evil cannot create unique stories. They cannot create, they can only take existing, manipulate, and it's part of evil. They have no, it's not part of what they lack a soul. They lack a human spirit
Hmm.
to, you know, create anything themselves. That's why everything's so stagnant and stale in our media and TV these days, because all the good and altruistic, the true people in this world have long left those type of industries, and they're stuck just rehashing reboots and retreads. So this is an actual photo of that very experimental, secretly built pneumatic tube system. Just look at the beautiful like light fixtures, the like Roman statue, or the like Greek god statue here. Uh, this is again a the network in London, the pneumatic dispatch at first operated in London in 1861. So about 10 years before the secret underground Broadway pneumatic tube system. And this is an interior shot of the pneumatic tube system in the Broadway underground station. And even in Ghostbusters 2, you know, Hollywood, they all know the true history. It's all about soft disclosure. You know, they don't have to tell you directly. They just put it in the media that they call make believe, you know, silly Ghostbuster stories. But they show a pneumatic tube tunnel. They, you know, go through the underground of New York, and it looks very similar to this shot right here, that first one I pulled up for you. And they're just kind of lowering themselves in, and it's just a completely preserved underground pneumatic tube system.
Oh, wow.
So
And you know what? I've talked about this before in a past episode. I think you'll appreciate this.
mhm,
There's a line in the beginning of Prometheus, that movie Prometheus. Now, it's in the original script. It didn't make it into the movie, but it's in the script, and it says it's these otherworldly sort of entities. They're kind of like deity
mhm.
beings. They kind of represent, the fallen angels. And
Yes.
they say we have lost our ability to create.
Oh, yeah.
And
Like,
so
at
we
that
need
grand
to,
scale, yeah.
yeah, so we need to, in the movie, it's taking showing this character who's about to take this black goo, and he's about to go on a mission for these fallen, so that they can create
Mhm.
for themselves an Eden. They're trying to recreate paradise, but they say we've lost our ability to create, and that's what came to mind.
Yes.
Some of the things you were laying out there, I think they do know, and they do use the movies, like you said,
Yeah,
to lay this
you
out.
can look at the amount of, lost knowledge that we've had in just a few centuries by the supposed mainstream. So, like I said, how you can find the evidence of the mud flood on every city, every country, yada, yada. So, 2,
Hey,
you can find
real quick
Mhm.
question for you. Do you think that they possibly were using these pneumatic tunnels to bring in the incubator babies for the World's Fairs?
Bingo. And do you think these shut down? Do you think they're still not going on? Like, do you
Hmm.
think they're not ramped up? You have elites that seem to be able to get anywhere in any place in the world in very quick times, never suffering from jet lag and all of that. No, these tunnel systems connect every continent. Or somebody that's done a lot deeper dives on that, and it the amount of connectivity, and it's all again behind these children throughout history, but the lengths that these evil parasites will go to have their children trafficked uh, knows no bounds. Shoving them in pneumatic dispatch tunnels. Look at this creepy photo. Does not give you a little shiver up the spine? Take a
Yeah,
moment
that's
to just gather it all in. So officially what this photo is, and I'm just going to roughly paraphrase it here while I pull up the
that's
exact
that's a
yeah.
little boy. That is a child.
Mhm. And does he look sleepy, or does he look maybe like he's
Drugged.
taking a forever nap? Or yes, I think more drugged. His face, his eyes look his pupils look, or his eyes are like kind of half cocked open, different angles. So officially, this image captures a demonstration of a human pneumatic transport system in 1908. So again, we have another supposed just a test, an experimental setup. We have multiple locations now. This one is in Chicago, the New York on pneumatic underground tubes, London. What do they call the train, the subway system in London? Do you know? Have you ever been, or if you're a
No.
London fan? The Tube.
Oh, the tube. Okay.
Yeah, so there is clear signs that and this is the infrastructure that we use now as subways, that was once a sealed compressed chamber. Because essentially what a pneumatic transport system is, for all those wondering at home, is you're a sealed container in a sealed chamber, that it's kind of like a gun, like the bullet of a gun, just all this compressed air. You're sealed right up into this chamber, and all this compressed air is pushing you forward on this, sealed tunnel system. So you're like the plunger of a needle, if you would. The air, as you push the syringe up, all the stuff's just kind of being pushed out from that compressed air. Think that in a much larger tube system, like a train system. So they're pumping compressed air into these tracks. So not only is it um, something that would take a lot of precision, it's a sealed chamber, a sealed kind of a vacuum chamber almost, if you will. But yeah, I mean, there was levels of intricate and details and depths, both literally the depths that they did burying a giant tunnel secretively underground, they say. Like, go out and take a shovel and start digging, and let me know how long it takes you to get 10 feet underground. And
Hmm.
let me know how long it takes you to get 20 feet underground just with a shovel, just with hand power. There was no, I mean, if there were steam cranes or any type of cranes in that era, it was very, very very new at the time, very limited capacities. So, same with these World's Fairs. You have to think of the possibilities. Like building a basement is a extensive process, even today's standards. That's a lot of excavation of dirt, having to settle in the a lower ground level, making sure all that stuff is watertight, and water's not going to just the groundwater levels not gonna just flood the basements. There's so much steps that go into it that that's why it's just so weird that they're able to just dig miles underground, 9 feet tunnels, brick laid tunnels, uh, and just they buried them up and forgot about them. Much like all
Hmm.
those red brick archways, that tunnels, underground layers that they find in cities like St. Louis. Oh boy, I got dozens and dozens of local news stories just showing all these undergrounds that they accidentally undercovered and or uncovered, and had zero idea how and where it came from. So this photo, I wanted to kind of just give you the background of it.
Yeah.
This guy that's standing there looking very pleased as punch with a nice little dress suit, that's the inventor, and that person is supposedly his child. I have never seen a father or a parent looking at a child like with such, like, it's almost like a weird, like a lust type of way, like it's not a loving parent's embrace. And who has their child being used as a guinea pig for a supposed experimental human pneumatic tube system. Never mind you, I've showed you over a dozen images of a pneumatic human transporting tube system that was around decades before this guy in 1908. So this was in 1908 in Chicago. Joseph, the inventor Joseph Stotzel, placed his young son Robert inside a cylindrical chamber to prove the safety of his proposed freight and passenger transportation invention. The system was designed to propel containers through a network of pipes using compressed air or a partial vacuum. When pneumatic tubes were used successfully for mail delivery in cities like Chicago and New York, human transportation systems were never widely adopted, they say. So they just kind of gave up on the idea. Never mind, it sounds like a great idea. I mean, no heavy uses of like fossil fuels, petroleum, and stuff like that. I mean, it's a compressed air system. It's a sealed system. It's like basically, like a very, very efficient form of
Yeah,
energy.
this could have the usage of this could have just went underground and just they just decided
Oh,
for
it's still
whatever reason
going.
to
It's still
keep it
going.
quiet. Yeah. And you think about people like Elon Musk,
Hmm.
his more lesser known company is called the Boring Company, where they
Yep.
supposedly bore holes in the earth. And then
Hmm.
there's another company that's come up on the show before too, based out of West Virginia. I don't remember, but we looked into it. I don't remember their title, but they do tunnels as well, and they have big ties all over in China even, and it's there's just these big operations still to this day of to do with
Yes.
these tunnels, but you'll never hear anything about it. And it makes me wonder, how long ago did they map out the under the beneath the world, the beneath world beneath, North
The
America?
yeah.
Like there's up right up above me, Kentucky, you have the cave system,
Hmm.
and it goes all over. They don't know how extensive it is. It's so massive. How much of this was them tapping into caves and cave systems that were already there and just incorporating this railway with that? And
Yeah.
I mean,
What's that tunnel? What's that cave system? Sorry to jump. What was that
oh,
cave system in
Mammoth,
Kentucky? Yes.
Mammoth Cave System.
Oh, I've done some digging behind that. So this is one of the original pneumatic dispatch company vehicles on display at the post office museum now. And I mean, it's just these are just a few. I have probably many more dozens photos of just this topic right there.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
interesting.
the one more that I wanted to touch before I had to fly.
Sure.
So like I said, my specialty is, auditing. That's where my professional expertise came from. Oops, sorry, I turned off my mic there. Uh, and where a lot of my kind of unique, set of skills kind of come into this game. I look at building materials so much and I just dig and dig for like any information I can find about like the materials, material data sheets of like bricks. How much bricks do you know? I don't have the exact dates, but let's say the reset period of America that I said 1776, the founding of this country, founding of America, right? The New World, that's what they also called America,
Right.
right?
The founding, right? They
Yep, it's
found
founded. So
whatever was
what if
here.
the 1776 is the supposed start of America was just the establishment of this new world order, this new world control that came to power and rose to power after the last reset. And America is just kind of a nice little symbolic. I look at all the symbolism behind America and its foundings. Uh, very, very interesting. We could go many hours into that alone, but so during the founding of America to about the end of the orphan train time, mid 1800s, there was so many red brick buildings being built across America in such record time. I'm talking about red brick courthouses, obviously tunnel systems left and right, that the math does not add up to it. I don't have the figures off the top of my head. Well, I do, but I don't have the exact figures. But essentially, with the amount of, and you guys can all verify this yourself, look at the amount of brick factories that were implemented at the time, and not just any particular brick factories, the red brick factories that had to use specific local sourced clay. Uh, so they were very hard to make in a quick fashion, in a rapid
Hmm.
progression to keep up with demand. And we're not talking about they didn't keep up with demand. No, apparently we magically found, I think it's 1.8 billion with a B, excess bricks that were used to build America versus what its brick manufacturing capacities were at the time. So if it's a simple mathematics, you take the amount of brick factories in the country at the time, the amount of maximum bricks they could kiln at a time, say roughly 10,000, you max that by how many days, how many times they could run continuously nonstop, get a rough figure that way. And then you look at the amount of bricks from all the courthouses, from all the state capitals, all of these massive buildings, and segueing into this Fort Jefferson because that's one of them. Uh, so much buildings cost had so much excessive bricks that there was 2 point like 1.8 or 2.8 billion or yeah, billion bricks more used for the construction than what we were capable of manufacturing. And even if we tried to like import some of those bricks from, Europe or somewhere else, again, those are red clay, red specific bricks that the clay content in those bricks are identical. They're not like different source bricks. And even if we could get them from Europe, they would not be, because again, they don't have giant cargo ships like we do now. Supposedly, they had big wooden sail ships. They used these bricks as oftentimes as ballast in their ships when they would come to America to kind of, balance them out and stuff like that, and then unload them and sell them once they got to, the new port. But even if they had a massive amount of that, that would even put a dent in the amount of shortfall. So it's like a company getting caught for embezzlement. They have way too much money on the books. They have way too much more than they should be able to have. That's where, you audit some of these details, audit some of these numbers, audit some of these supplies, and just see the sheer amount of supplies. And then think of that they're primarily all built, the whole country was built with a hay bale, horse and buggy supply line. No semi trucks, no countrywide network of highways and railways yet. Supposedly, all just fresh, new, muddy terrain. And the math doesn't add up. So, with that, where part of the large amount of excess bricks went that we didn't have, went to this place off the coast of Florida called Fort Jefferson in Dry Tortuga. Let me get
Hmm.
my folders up here. So this, you probably have never really heard too much about it, but would you be surprised that this little fort is the largest, still to this day, largest brick mason structure in North America? So that means is it has the most bricks. It's the biggest and most extensive structure than anywhere else in North America, and I'm pretty sure South America too. But hang on,
Okay.
just a second. I'm just pulling up those
You're
Fort
good. And
Jefferson images now.
this is out in the Gulf. I'm sure you'll cover that, but for
Hmm.
people listening, it's in a very strange location. It's
It's about.
surrounded
Yep. Yeah.
by
Go ahead. Go ahead.
water. It's
Hmm.
surrounded on all sides by water and vast quantities of water at that. A very,
Literally.
very odd location for them to just put a fort there. And I'm sure we'll get to this part, but I'll add in my 2 cents. I think it was there long
Oh
before they were
yes.
telling us, and it was something that the ancients, some sort of an operation that the ancients had
Hmm.
established, probably for
These
transporting goods across the ocean, if you ask me.
these star forts were worldwide. There are still so
Yes.
many of them standing. A lot of them, bastardized, stripped down of their actual true infrastructure. I mean, you look at it, it's the same reason why there's uniform architecture styles the world over. It was not just a fashion choice, it was a design for the machine choice. Everything in the old world was not just built to look beautiful, ornate, and pretty. It had a purpose.
Awesome.
And same with these star forts. Most of these star forts were built not in key strategic places, but actual strategic energy nodes and energy points across this realm. If you ever heard of ley lines, earthen grids, earthen lines, essentially there, and there's actual mainstream science as well that will go along with this. There's certain points, certain areas of our realm, these lines that intersect each other, that spread out the world over, um, that have like amplified electromagnetic energies, amplified energy presences. I mean, there's tons of stuff about these ley lines. Tons of these star forts were built on ley lines. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
they're all part of that ether energy grid. You have the cathedrals, the cathodes, um the like if you look at all of it, like all the old cities in like Europe and stuff, the ones that weren't gutted and stripped out, you see what looks like a giant computer represent like a motherboard representation when you zoom out on some of these cities, like looking at them from satellite view.
And in
But
the cathedral, some of the cathedral floors look like motherboard chips.
yes, they have some of them have it's called like a labyrinth pattern, which was supposed to elevate us, our energies, our consciousnesses. So these
Oh, and it
cathedrals,
looks like one other thing that it looks like there's an old book I was looking at. It's an old magical text. It's called The
mhm,
Tale of Magic, and the sigils in that book look like computer motherboard chips as well.
yes, yes.
Pretty wild.
There's have you ever looked into like how like the process, like those microchips are made nowadays? That's magic. That's witchcraft.
Mm.
That's modern witchcraft. There's only one place in the world that builds these like super chips, these microchips for everything we use, from smartphones, computers, our freaking phones are smart, or our freaking fridges are smart fridges now. So all of these microchips that they build with is built in one, like pretty much one area, Taiwan, a remote isolated island. Very few people actually have the whole knowledge of the process and the steps. And you can see videos on TikTok, just or like YouTube or whatever, just like search like zooming in on superconductors or microchips, and like it's like one of those infinite zoom art things where you like zoom into like a picture and it's another picture and then it comes into another picture. Have you ever seen one of those? It's like
Yeah,
one of
I
those,
have.
yeah. That's like what these microchips are.
Yeah.
There's just these patterns and these designs and these, circuit grids. Like they're so unique and so like, micro for a reason, but and the
Yeah,
fact that only one
that
place in
always
the
blows
world
my
can really
mind.
do that, and it's essentially caused by grinding up a bunch of these very specialized rocks that are again found in one areas.
Right.
What I'm getting at is this is part of the technology that we're not privy to exactly how it's done. uh,
Hmm.
People theorize that it's fallen angel tech. The fallen angels, they didn't go anywhere. They're still here. They're part of that whole world cabal, that elitist group. They have the ability to, you know, essentially live forever. If you ever seen very odd doppelganger, celebrity doppelgangers, every celebrity seems to have historical doppelgangers, like ones from the 1800s, early 1900s that look identical to them. They also, many of them had the doppelgangers they were able to identify from that past, all had like weirdly similar celebrity type styled roles. Look, the point is a celebrity nowadays, they don't die and they just go away like us. Like these are fallen angels. They play a role for a little bit and then they die. They're out of the limelight, they're out of the culture. Few generations pass, nobody would ever recognize Ellen DeGeneres or whoever if she just magically popped up a little bit younger version of herself and just picked up and did another role again. They even say that many of these actors are played by multiple people, like our last president, Sleepy Joe. He had supposedly multiple different actors, including Jim Carrey, uh, that would play him. It's just, and they do this not for any
Is
particular reason. I think. I just think
is
it's
this
to mock us and degrade us.
Yeah, yeah. Well, what came to mind is is this why Nicolas Cage has a tomb? He's got I don't know if you've ever seen that, but in New Orleans, I've been to his grave. I've been to the grave
Hmm.
of Nick Cage, and it's a pyramid tomb. And
Is
it's
it?
just like, yeah, and he's one of the ones who you see the has like an old school doppelganger. Like there's some guy
Yes.
in the 1800s that we have a picture of that looks just like Nick Cage. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
I'm
he's got a grave in New Orleans, isn't that interesting?
I'm one step ahead of here. I was just pulling up. Of course, I have a file that's doppelgangers, celebrity doppelgangers, right? Why wouldn't I? This is where is it here? Let me just pull up my Nicolas Cage photo. I just loaded in.
In a minute, though, I'm gonna have to tell you something about that Fort Jefferson in Tortuga.
Oh yes, yes,
Don't
yes.
let me re don't let me forget to tell you about it because
Let me let this be the last off track thing I get, and then I gotta wrap up that Fort Tortuga thing because I
okay.
know my little son. He's taking advantage of the situation. He's up right now playing his little Pokemon video games. Oh, it's
Ah,
amazing life. It's like I said, history repeats itself. That's a cycle. I never dreamed before I played before my son was born. I remember that Pokemon Go game.
yeah.
If you remember that, it was just kicking off right before he was born, and played the heck out of it. I never dreamed that one day I would be taking that same son to play Pokemon Go now. I have
Oh
Pokemon that
wow.
are older than him. That's the funny part. Yeah, like he's playing the game that I was playing before he was even born. It's crazy. The thing like that has the stopping powers. And so this is just, yeah, my random picture of Nicolas Cage and his
Oh,
other doppelganger, Nicolas Cage.
that's it. That's the one.
Yes. And there's hundreds of examples of these folks. There's a gentleman, the fittest flat earther. He did a big compilation and kind of touched on the whole uh, fallen angel thing. That's who these are. That's who these are. These are just fallen angels playing another role in history. Uh, and I mean, that's what they love to do. They love to be in the spotlight. They love to manipulate the masses. They love the control. I mean, they're not going to give up that power and that control and that ensnarement they can have over us.
Yeah, they
Celebrities.
are worshipped. They're worshipped.
I
People
was just gonna say
worship
celebrity
them.
worship is a thing, and
Yeah,
what are we really worshiping? There's always
they get
innuendos, hidden
energy.
meetings. Like they're having you worship them, and we
Yeah,
don't even know it.
they
Uh,
get a charge from that, like an
mhm.
energetic charge from
They
that. If you
absolutely do. They
it,
absolutely do.
most people, maybe some people would could equate it to their birthday when they're a kid, and you have
Mhm.
20 people come over to your house. They're all there for you, and it's your day, and everybody's sort of celebrating you and
Yep.
treating you like you're special.
Mhm.
The celebrities have that everywhere they go,
Oh yeah.
especially events where there's paparazzi outside. So I know that they get a charge out of that. And for them it's just on a scale that's almost hard to even put in the words on how much energy they're able to harvest from that.
Oh, and that's what the system is. It's perverse from what it was. The old world. People say, why does it matter? What does it matter? Looking at history, that's all everybody's dead. It's long in the past. Like because it really shows us, where we could be if we realized, what was taken from us. That system back then, the old world, pre-reset, whatever you want to say, that was a system, a civilization, a empire, people that were built to uplift and inspire. It was reflected in its architecture. It was reflected in its technology of free energy, sound technology, cymatics. These temples and cathedrals were not made to blindly worship. They were made to heal. Look at the powers and abilities of sound healing. You mentioned that those temple and cathedral floors have those patterns. Those are a labyrinth pattern that has a uh, cymatic assignment to it that promotes healing, natural cell growth, energies. Think of like you have you ever been to like a big concert or something like that, or a big group of people all cheering for a same event, all cheering on a celebrity or something like that. Do you if you went to that and asking those listening, do you not feel like that charge, that almost like that like energy in your stomach, in the pit of your chest? It's like almost like a full body, like slowly building feeling. That is what happens when our connected consciousness, we're all connected subconsciously. They just kind of dimmed and turned off the antennas with these pineal gland calcifications. Get another rabbit hole, but uh, when we're connected, when we're connected for one, with one direction, one clear voice, when we amplify our abilities in situations like sound temples, cathedrals, like the energies that we can give off and produce and radiate, it's all about resonance, right? The
Right.
Nikola Tesla said, if you want to unlock the secrets of this world, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. That is what we're made of in all essences. We're all vibrational beings, and some vibration, uh, there's a negative resonance, like if you're around somebody that you don't vibe with, the words again, they're chosen carefully. Vibrations. If you don't vibe with somebody, you're going to pick that up. And oppositely, somebody that you just get along with swimmingly, just have a great connection. I feel like us, we seem to resonate great together. Again, resonance, like it's built in to our language, to our DNA. It's all cymatics, it's all sound and frequencies. And what they do nowadays, like they something as simple, it's not just one thing, it's many things. It's many layers to this onion. They changed the frequency, and I believe it's like the 1950s or something. The standard frequency, the standard harmonic frequency of music, like the bass tone for the do re mi fa sol la da, they changed the pitch of that ever so slightly. Now, have you ever seen like a cymatic sound plate, where if you like have a sound vibrating plate, you play a cymatic note into the vibrating plate, you have sand on it, and it will shape into a
Oh
specific
yeah.
sound note. Yeah. Like the Tibetan monks and stuff knew how to breathe in a tone, like their throat chants would do it in a way, and they would document this long before they had imaging software available to document it. And it was sort of again the same exact shape, and all these cymatic patterns. These are all about these star forts, one of which we're
Oh
gonna
wow.
quickly, all these star forts, if you look at them, they're all cymatic patterns.
Yeah.
uh, we're gonna quickly run through this Fort Jefferson, because
Okay.
I
You
like
know,
I
while
like with
while
that
you
Temple of Sardi's, I don't like leaving anything unanswered.
Oh yeah. Okay, well, let's do it. I'm excited. You had the picture up there, and
Yes.
while we were talking, so I spent more time looking at that picture than I have
Hmm.
before, as just now in the episode here, and I noticed a couple weird things about the picture that I haven't noticed before. One is size. I
Yes.
didn't realize it was as big as it is because I was like, oh, those trees. Those
Hmm.
trees look like bushes, but they're actually trees. They're full grown trees. They look
Yes.
super small compared to the structure. And then off to the left, where there's some sort of a dock for boats, there
Hmm.
was a boat out there, and the walkway, and you can tell how small everything is. Like that structure is huge, and I don't know. It looks like there's at least a couple acres inside.
It's crazy to think that that's, oh yeah, it is super big. I'll go over a little bit of the specs here while I try and kind of condense this. Uh, it doesn't do it justice though, folks. I encourage you guys to dig into not just this star fort. This is one of about 200 similar cymatic pattern star forts in just America alone, the United States of America, not North America. No, like there are hundreds, if not thousands, of these star forts. City like Antwerp, Belgium, literally has hundreds of these star forts just all around the city's waterways and stuff. I was trying to get my slideshow pulled up here, and then I'm going to share the screen. There we go. It's pulled up. All right. So, just real quick, running through some of the very awesome
This thing
stats
is
of,
so much bigger than I
it's
realized.
huge.
Oh my
Okay.
goodness.
Again, logistics, freight transportation. I look at this right here. It is approximately 70 miles off the coast of Florida. Um, uh, Number one, water. Tons of it, right? All around it,
Hmm.
not anything you can drink.
Right. Right.
So they didn't have desalination machines back then. They had very rudimentary water collection systems where they can replenish what water systems had to be shipped in with the 16 plus million red bricks as well. So not only do you need a massive labor force to, build a structure of this scale with 16 plus million bricks, about 70 miles off of the coast of the Florida Keys, the experienced labor force, you're going to need water, the basics of survival to, maintain a fort and a structure here. Let's go back to some of the zoomed out aerial photos of this.
What are
I
the
don't know.
chances you think that
Yeah.
they've got a deep freshwater well somewhere on the property?
Oh, I'm sure they had ways that they,
Yeah.
that would completely debunk the timeline of, the invention process we went through in the mainstream, like the desalinization plants, the ways to extract the salt out of the salt water. I'm sure they had stuff like that.
They
I
must have
like
had
like I
something.
said, like
It's
you
like
see these ship
tempered copper.
exactly.
Tempered copper, like they knew how to take copper and form it into tools and harden it, and we still don't
Mhm.
know how they did that to this day. Yeah, you're
And
right.
they also used copper very intelligently as a way to drink water and use as utensils and stuff. That's because it's a natural antibacterial agent. It's kills bacteria. It keeps filter water, copper. That's why all the old world. It's not just that copper. The copper and bronze age was popular at the time. No, long afterwards, they were making all of their foods, all of their drinks were done in copper and bronze
Yeah,
devices.
that's what I was going to
Nowadays,
say next. I wouldn't be surprised if they used copper to somehow filter that ocean water and
oh
get it
yes, oh
drinkable.
yes, they could control the weather at that time period. They could summon enough water that they needed. And this structure, so again, I'm looking at it logistically wise. You have to first lay a foundation, you have to clear the ground before you start any construction. Look at how the water is just right up to this. It looks like this was built pre flood level raise. Um,
Mm,
it's surrounded by water now, but if you look at some of these aerial photos, you can see like a very like almost like underground like land masses that are just like, if this say like this was 20 feet deeper here, 10 feet deeper here, or shallower here, like this whole like just leveled out area in the middle of nowhere, 70 miles away from the coast of Florida, uh, with no heavy machinery or anything. Like if it was already a much larger landmass, like this thing is literally built on a sandbar. Uh, if you ever try and build on top of sand, it's not really recommended. So the entire project here, this 16 plus million brick structure, shipped by sailboat through treacherous reefs and hurricane prone waters. The bricks came from multiple distant sources, supposedly northern Florida, New England, uh, Maine, and New York. Again, there was no fresh water on the island. They had to build massive cisterns into the walls just to survive. That's, water collection systems before like desalinization and stuff like that. And again, the entire project took 30 years around, give or take, to build. And I say around because officially it was never even finished. This fort was never actually completed. Can you believe that? The largest brick mason structure in North America never actually got completed. So from 1846 to 1875, they used prison labor, this and that. And all of a sudden, one day, they decided that the military technology, the cannons, the artillery's technology changed so much. So the fort was never not viable after that. So they stopped building it and they used it. The only real purpose and use it ever got, other than like now it's a tourist spot. You can actually, this is a national park, Fort Jefferson National Park in Dry Tortuga. You can actually take a tour of it. Beautiful places. I personally never. I don't think I could take a 70-mile long boat ride. I'm a Midwesterner. We don't have those large bodies. We do
Yeah.
have Great Michigan, but or
You,
Lake Michigan
you,
and
you
stuff. But
know
yeah.
what's interesting is I've looked into this not to the extent that you have, but what I did find something interesting. I mentioned earlier the Cosmos Club. I found some interesting things looking into that. It opened up some doors for me. And as far as Fort Jefferson here is concerned, one of the things I found is that they say a guy named Joseph Gilbert Totten built this, and he did not. I can
Mhm.
say that we've caught him in a lie with that one because he they also say he built Castle Clinton at the tip of Manhattan.
Oh yeah, I just talked about that in my last video actually a little
Same
bit.
guy. They
Mhm.
attribute both sites to Joseph Totten, and the problem is he couldn't have built Castle Clinton because it's on maps from like the 1600s. He wasn't
Mhm.
born until the 1800s.
Mhm. There's so
So
much holes in them.
something,
Architects, you are right on there. If digging into those architects, that's not the only one. There's tons of
that's what
architects
they
that
did.
they're like ghost architects.
Yeah,
They're like they're a name that's assigned. And if you look at some of the art, like if you go on Wikipedia or something, right, on one of these buildings, beautiful, well before its time, just so over the top structure that's like, just magnificent. You click on the architect that was in charge of designing on it. And oftentimes you'll get a little like one little paragraph blurb about him. And other times you'll get like a little blurb about them, and they've also turned around and designed like hundreds of these massive structures. These lighthouses that were built all over the world at like essentially the same time. I feel these old world lighthouses also they had mercury in them. They were used as mooring stations for airships. Think of an airport that could be utilized anywhere in the most remote regions. You don't need a large strip of land to land it. You just need a lighthouse sized device where the front end of the airships would dock and you would unload from the front of the airship and take the elevator or the spiral staircase down from these lighthouses. They
hmm,
were also great, beautiful. Look at like the observation tower in Brighton, England. It looks like a big giant ether tower um, slash airship tower. They call it just an observation tower, but the amount of steel, the amount of structure, and the shape, uh, it had a different purpose. That's what I'm saying. All these
yeah.
structures, all these
Oh,
antennas,
yeah.
these flagpoles had much deeper meaning.
Oh,
Um,
I think it goes back to what you're saying with the ley lines and what I call it Earth energy nodes and all.
mhm.
They put many of these star forts in particular, like you said, were put on some sort of a line, whether we want to call that a
Yep.
meridian or a ley line. But and then they bring these guys in and say that they built it. That's that's an example of how they went back and falsified this history and covered up whatever this really was.
Yes.
Because for example, with Totten, I'm convinced he didn't build this, and I know he didn't build Castle Clinton in Manhattan. I looked into him. He was a regent of the Smithsonian. He was in the club. You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
he's a DC guy. He was a co-founder of the National um, Academy of Sciences. He
Mhm.
was in the American Theosophical Society, and he was also in the Army Corps of Engineers, who we talked about earlier with the dams. This may have been off air. So
Mhm.
it's this club of elites that are going out and reclaiming all this history and falsifying it and
Oh, you
telling
are
us
spot on.
rewriting the history.
History goes to the victors, right? And
Yeah,
that's who won out after the last reset. So I will tease you with one more star fort. Always
cool.
magnificent to me. Not in America, and much bigger than Fort Jefferson, about 2 miles end to end. This is in a place called Rosenay, France. Zooming in there, do you see it? Are you
Let's
seeing that?
see. I'm seeing
Let
the
me zoom in
area
right there.
around it.
Boom.
Now I'm seeing it.
Yes, it's kind of hard not to once you see it. Look,
Whoa.
like, so this is the tiny little town of Rosenay right here, and this is the star fort that just dwarfs it. Uh, you can
Six.
do,
Hmm.
yeah,
It's got
6 point star
sides.
fort. Very good.
Six sides, just like Fort Jefferson.
Yes, all of these star forts, they have a simple like a simple build sheets to them. They're, eventually the star forts are arranged in these 6 point formats and other like kind of star patterns because they're great for deflecting cannon fire and great for defense. True, but when you add the cymatic shapes and compare them side by side, look at like some of these star forts and look at the cymatic patterns of a snowflake. This is
Mm.
advanced technology that's built to mimic and amplify the natural frequencies, vibrations, and energies around us. These star forts were like subwoofers that would amplify these sounds and these energies, like the ether energy and these sound frequencies. There's so many different things and so many information we can talk about with the sound frequencies alone, but just wanted to tease you with this star fort here off the
That's
top of my head.
huge. That
Huge.
is huge.
So
Is
officially
this the
it
one? Is this blurred out
yep,
somewhat?
you are exactly right. It's a very heavily secretive. It almost looks buried, does it not?
Yeah.
Like there's not much, everything looks like it's covered in
Oh,
earth.
it's oh, you can see the blur.
Yep.
You can see the edge of the blur around the
Hmm.
sides.
Oh yes.
What?
Yeah, so this fort was built, I believe, in the 15th century. It's a very, very, very old military fort that the French government repurposed as a nuclear submarine communications hub, is officially what it's used for. And it's also used to test electromagnetic properties because this star fort is built, and you will see that in like if you just Wikipedia it. I can't know the exact name of it, but if you dig into this, as I've done in the past, you will see it is built there and used by the French government to this day because of its very unique electromagnetic properties that is found only in this star fort. I mean, look at the level of blurring and like hiding of this star fort. So
There's
this
a shape within this, and it's hard to see, but
in the middle.
if you yeah, if you hold it right there, you see there's lines going into the center.
Yep.
It looks like there's one, two, three, a four-sided shape in there. It's hard to it's kind of hard to say exactly what it is, but it looks like it's some sort of a
It's
I don't know, like like
it's the
sacred geometry that was that was there.
I know
And
exactly
this
what
is
you're
huge. It's
I know
huge. If
exactly
you
what
look
you're
at the
digging on because
if you
yeah, all of these star forts have that. I kind of jokingly say it's the key to the it is the key to the unlocking of the power grid of these star forts. And I say key because
Mm.
remember I just mentioned Antwerp. I'll give you one more quick star fort tease. Just type in Antwerp, Belgium, folks, and just start zooming in. Oh, look at this star fort. That's one, right? That's a very blurred out star fort. So we'll zoom out a little bit here, just poking around. Of course, just doing it off the top of my head. Oh, look at that. Another star fort. This is exactly what I wanted to show you. So you will find in just this city alone, and it's a great demonstration for this whole center of the star fort thing I wanted to show you. What do you see in the middle of this star fort that's not blurred out?
Oh,
Do
it
you see
looks
that
like it's
keyhole?
a keyhole, yeah.
Oh, yes, yes. So that's a very fun rabbit hole there. So all of these star forts, this is a star fort that's in ruin here. That's, side by side next to that. Look at how many that's like maybe 10, 20 miles away, give or take. An exact little star fort. This one's in disrepair, but look right in the middle again. What's that? It looks like a keyhole just in ruins in disrepair. Look at
Hmm.
that one. Another one. Oh, look at that. Another keyhole. Interesting. Is that just some fancy design that they're doing? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Oh, look at that. Another one. It looks like it's all grown over and overgrown, but you can see it clear as day if you zoom in. Keyhole. So
Yeah,
is it
that's an
just a
odd.
coincidence? I don't know. I don't know. Let's ask the Statue of Liberty. You know, the Statue of Liberty is built on a star fort, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Boom, right there. What's right next to that star fort?
Keyhole.
Bam. Let's
It's a
ask the
shape.
Vatican.
Okay. Yeah, this
What's
one's
right next?
interesting.
Look at that. Star fort. All right. What's right next to that star fort? Right in the middle of the bastion
Yeah.
of the
Giant keyhole shape.
bang, 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 bang. Circle gets the square. Okay, I could obviously spend all night long
Yeah,
talking about this, but I hear my young son up.
you're
I
good.
can hear that dang Pokemon music from here. I was like, all right, I got to do crack the dad whip. But do you have a copy? Do I get a copy of this as well, or can you send me a copy of this as well? I'd
Yeah,
love to, I'd
yeah.
put it up on my channel and kind of, get a share amongst our followers
Sure,
and
sure.
hopefully,
Before I can give you all the details as soon as we
yeah,
hop off
absolutely.
here. Let me end the recording real quick.
Hmm.
First
Okay.
of all, thank you for coming on, and thank you for spending your time with me
Heck
and
yeah,
showing
heck
us
yeah.
all this stuff. That was great. Before we get off here, tell everyone where they can find you.
So I am the Improbable Dreamer on YouTube. I am the Doctor Regenerated. My other catchphrases that I'm known for is question everything. I say it at the end of all my videos. That's also where you can find me on Facebook. If you get to any one of those pages, Dr. Regenerated and Probable Dreamer, question everything, just go to the link tree. You'll find I'm on every social media platform, essentially all the big ones, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, X, YouTube, Rumble. And we stream, we have a live podcast every Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday where we dig into just odd anomalies like these star forts and hidden history and even modern times. We talked a lot about those missing scientists last night's episode, but we go live every Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, 10:30 Central Standard Time. You can also join in live and participate with the show, ask questions, and chat with me while we put on a class of questioning everything.
Okay. Well, and I'll have some of your links. I'll try to get them all, but I'll at least have your main links down below in the description. Everybody can go check that out
Yeah,
and
I could drop
go.
like my link tree in there if that would help. Like a like
Sure. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and end this thing, and you can
okay, yeah,
send me those links.
that sounds
Um,
good.
for everybody listening, this has been another really fun episode. A lot of really great information I'm not here and talked about. That's what I'm all about here.
Mhm.
So, as always, break the mold, conquer the realm, and thanks for listening.